All right, today we're diving into a pretty wild idea in professional networking. I'm talking about a trade show that never, ever closes its doors. It's this thing called Capital Expo, and the goal is to create a 24/7 global convention center that lives right on your screen. So let's figure out how they're planning to pull this off.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. Imagine a huge convention center, right? But you can just walk in from your desk whenever you want, anytime, any day of the year. What if all those amazing connections, those deals, those aha moments you get at a trade show could happen all the time, 24/7? Well, that's the big question that Capital Expo is trying to answer.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a handle on the big picture here. What exactly is Capital Expo at its core? How do they plan on taking all that energy and buzz from a real-life trade show and making it work in a totally digital world?
So at its heart, Capital Expo is a global virtual trade show. But here's the key thing. The goal isn't to be just another boring website or a simple directory. Nope. It's designed to actually simulate the experience of being at a physical event. Think about the discoveries, the random interactions, walking through different halls, all of that, but making it permanent and open to anyone, anywhere in the world.
And this really gets to the heart of it, right? Physical trade shows are amazing, no doubt, but they're just fleeting moments. They cost a ton of money to attend, and your networking is limited to whoever happens to be in the same room. Capital Expo completely flips that script. It's always on, it's global from the get-go, and it swaps out those random chance encounters for some pretty smart AI-powered matchmaking.
So you're probably wondering, what's it actually like to walk through these virtual doors? Well, let's do that. Let's take a quick tour of how this whole place is structured, from the main entrance all the way down to a single exhibitor's booth.
Okay, the whole platform is built kind of like one of those Russian nesting dolls. It's like a show within another show. So you start out in this big global lobby. From there, you might click to enter, say, the USA Expo. Inside that, you'll find different pavilions, and then inside each pavilion, you finally get to the individual e-booths. It's actually a really clever way to organize what could be a totally overwhelming amount of information. And this is where the idea of pavilions gets really powerful. See, these aren't just boring static categories. They are fully customizable mini expos run by actual community organizations. So think about it. An accelerator or a university can create its own branded space, choose which exhibitors to feature, and even host its own events in a virtual auditorium. This gives different communities real ownership inside the bigger platform, which is a pretty cool concept.
So if you're an entrepreneur, what can you actually do in here? Well, the e-booth is basically your digital storefront. It's a dynamic space where you can show off a 2-minute video pitch, display your investor decks, and send a really clear signal that you're looking to raise capital. And that one-click feature? That's a huge deal. It makes the whole setup process a breeze for anyone who's already part of the Bright Idea Lab platform.
But of course, a trade show is absolutely nothing without its visitors, right? And the whole experience is designed to be super interactive. So as you're browsing around, you get this digital briefcase where you can collect info from different booths, kind of like grabbing brochures at a real event. You can connect instantly with people using QR codes, and there are even dedicated meeting rooms for those important one-on-one chats, the ones where you used to have to shout over the noise in a crowded hall.
All right, so we've taken a tour of the virtual venue. But who's actually in there? Well, the platform is really built for a whole ecosystem of different users, and each one has their own goals and gets their own benefits. Let's break down the who's who at the expo.
What's really neat is how this whole ecosystem is designed to work together. It's symbiotic. So, visitors get to explore a world of innovation for free, exhibitors get a permanent stage to show off their stuff and raise money, pavilion owners get to build and manage their own communities, and of course, sponsors get really targeted visibility. Every single role feeds into the others, creating this living, breathing marketplace that benefits everyone.
Okay, but how do you stop people from just aimlessly wandering around this huge virtual space? How do you make sure they're making meaningful connections? Well, the answer is in the tech. It's all about the AI engine that's working behind the scenes to power smart introductions.
So on a technical level, this isn't just one single piece of software. It's actually 3 different platforms all working together in the cloud. One handles the visitor experience, another one is for managing the expo, and the third is a huge global database. The cool part is, for you, the user, it all just feels like one seamless experience because of a universal sign-in.
So how does this AI matchmaking actually work? Honestly, it's beautifully simple. First, you just post what you have, what you bring to the table. This could be your skills, capital you want to invest, or the product you've built. Then, you do the other half of the equation. You post what you want.
Maybe you need funding, or you're looking for a co-founder with a specific skill set.
And then, here's the magic. The AI engine just chugs away in the background, 24/7, 365, constantly looking at all the haves and all the wants across the entire network. The moment it finds a perfect match for you, bam, it connects you. It is laser-focused networking that literally never sleeps.
And you should know, this powerful matchmaking engine wasn't just built from scratch for this project. It's actually powered by a really robust existing technology, the iMatch Market Database from Bright Idea Lab. So what that means is it has a solid foundation of data and experience backing it up from the very first day. Now, building a global platform is obviously a massive vision, right? So where do you even begin? Well, Capital Expo is taking a smart approach. They're launching in one specific place first. Let's take a look at why they picked Georgia, of all places, and what that tells us about their plans for the future.
And believe me, the choice of Georgia was anything but random. They picked it specifically because the state already has this incredibly robust, deeply connected network of entrepreneurs, universities, incubators, the whole shebang. It's the perfect, real-world laboratory to test a platform that's designed to do one thing: connect an entire ecosystem.
In this timeline here really shows their deliberate step-by-step approach. The tech itself is homegrown, developed right there in Georgia by Georgians. They're starting with a pilot program in the third quarter of 2025, and then opening it up for visitors later that summer. This whole strategy lets them work out all the kinks and perfect the model in a controlled environment, basically using Georgia as the blueprint before they expand to other states and eventually other countries.
But listen to this quote from Larry White of the Ritz Group, who's one of the driving forces behind this. It points to a vision that is so much bigger. He sees Capital Expo as more than just a tool for today. He calls it an on-ramp to Web 3.0 and the metaverse. He's talking about the next evolution of the internet, things like decentralized networks and those persistent shared virtual worlds. So they're really positioning this as a foundational step toward what the future of digital community might look like.
And all of this really brings us to one final big question. In a world that's becoming more digital by the day, is something like this, a permanent AI-powered 24/7 space, is this the future of how we're all going to build professional relationships and grow our businesses? It's definitely a fascinating thing to think about.